It's basketball time. It's time for basketball. Basketball picks with Dan and John. Did I say that right? Yeah, I said that right. John, take it away.
How do you say John wrong?
I don't know.
All right. Our first pick up on the board is the Bulls at the Celtics. Now, the Celtics have played pretty well at the Garden this year, but they do have a lot of injuries. Barbosa just went down with a torn ACL. Rondo already went down with a torn ACL, and Sulliger's down with the back. The Bulls are still full strength. I mean, guys have been going down once in a while, but no injuries right now. So my pick for this one is definitely going to be the Bulls. What's your pick, Dan?
Okay, so yeah, Celtics have a lot of injuries. That's true. The Bulls, not so many injuries. But even with Rondo gone and a couple injuries, the Celtics have been on a hot streak. Like, I honestly think that they've been playing, like, better when Rondo's gone for some weird reason. So I'm going to go Boston on this one. How about you, Brian?
That is a ballsy pick. A really ballsy pick. It's a ballsy pick. I'm punny. Don't forget it. Yeah, thank you. So, I don't know if you noticed, like, we didn't have a motto this week. Like, we had thanks Mama Harbaugh and thanks Kessel. Like, thank you, Kessel. This week's is thank you, Rondo. I'm not going to read it because there's already stuff up there. But thank you, Rondo, because he gets hurt. We go on a 7-game win streak. Granted, Dan did say that we were on a hot streak. Look at the teams we played, and then we lose to Charlotte. Fix it. I'm going to take the Bulls. Celtics get 3 injuries. Don't do that. It's a no-brainer. I hate to do it.
All right. The next pick up on the board is the Raptors at the Knicks. Now, the Raptors, even though they acquired Rudy Gay in that trade with Memphis a couple weeks ago, they haven't been playing to their full potential. They really needed a small forward. They got that. And I feel like they could have done better since they got him, but they haven't. And then you got Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire firing on almost all cylinders in New York. So I'm going to go New York on this one. And that's not just because of Carmelo and Amari. Their point guards are passing the ball. They're getting wide open looks. They're hitting threes like it's nobody's business. And that's going to win you a ball game. What's your pick, Dan?
So the Raptors, already mentioned this last week, but I'm going to mention it again. They just acquired Rudy Gay. He's been performing really good. I used that same reasoning last week, won that pick. I'm confident about the Raptors, but I also lost the pick where I picked against the Knicks. And they're both really good teams, and the Knicks kind of scare me, so I'm going to choose the Knicks. What about you, Brian?
The Knicks scare me. Granted, I think Carmelo Anthony's a wine bag. And I'm jumping to a conclusion here real quick. Because they did me justice last week, and I really expect them to do me justice again this week. I agree 150 billion and 2% with what John said. When your point guards are passing the ball, you're shooting threes like it's your job, because it is. And you got guys like Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony. Even when they're not playing a big game, they're still playing a big game because they're always a big part of their team. They're always a big part of the looks that they can get, like John said, wide open, shooting threes like mothers. That's all I got for the Raptors in the next game. I'm going to take the Knicks, not even a question. Trailblazers and Hornets. What do you say, John?
Now, this is an interesting game because you got young talent on both sides. You got LaMarcus Aldridge. You got Damian Lillard on this side. And then you got the number 1 overall pick in Anthony Davis on this side. I think it's going to be a offensive game, but I also think it's going to be a blowout for the Trailblazers. So I'm going to go with them on this one. And that's not just because this team is younger and this team is more experienced. It's simply because Damian Lillard is a scoring point guard, and there's not. I don't want to say there's not too many of those, but there's not too many like him. He's young talent. That's what's going to put him over the Hornets in this one.
So as John said, it's basically a battle of young versus experience. Young have an advantage because they're less injury prone. They're generally more healthy and more athletic. But the Trailblazers, more experienced ones, are gonna know more what to do. But they're probably not gonna be as athletic. So I'm gonna go Hornets on this one.
What about you? So I agree with Dan and the whole experience versus youth thing because I think that when you get really young teams like the Hornets and they have #1 overall picks, they're a considerably hard team to shut down. However, when you have an experienced team like the Trailblazers, they know just how to counteract and shut down what you would primarily expect to shut down. So I think that's the difference maker in this game, and I'm going to take Portland in this game. Last and not least, the Rockets and the Clippers. What do you say, Johnny boy?
Now, this game, it's obviously the final game of our four, and this one is going to be not really a hard choice for me, but it could be for Dan or Brian. I'm going to go with the Clippers on this one, and I'll explain in a second. You got Lob City on one side, but you got Jeremy Lin and James Harden on the other side. The Clippers have a tremendous bench. Like I said last week, they have Barnes and Odom coming off the bench. Those guys are starters in themselves. But the Rockets don't really have much of a bench. They're more of a starting lineup type of team. I'm sorry. They got their starters playing up to 30, 40 minutes a game. And I think that's going to wear them down, so LA is going to go over the Rockets in this one.
I think I'm going to go LA as well because same reasons John made. The Rockets have good starting lineup, but don't really have a lot of depth on the bench. The Clippers have a good bench and a pretty solid starting lineup. So basically my prediction, the Rockets are going to own the game the first half of the game, but then the Clippers are going to end up being really good the second half and just dominate the second half because every good player on the Rockets is just going to be tired. And, yeah, it's basically my reasoning. What about you?
Depth wins games, especially in a sport like this where it's back and forth. It's a non-stop game, like hockey. And like I said, depth wins games, especially out west. Because I feel like out west they really do play a faster style of basketball as opposed to on the East Coast, they play a more hard-nosed defensive kind of style of basketball. It's almost like they have a West Coast offense like in football. It's wide open, it's spread out, it's quick. Which is why I'm going to take the Clippers in this, is because, like I said, like Dan said, like John said, their starters are tremendous, but they get gassed easily because they're played so much and they don't have depth on the bench. So I think that's going to be their downfall ultimately. The Clippers aren't notorious for being a playoff caliber team. But in matchups like these, people who don't generally watch basketball, such as myself, would look at the Clippers and say, holy crap. Look at that. They're finalists. That's all for basketball. On to hockey.